If you've created blogs for SEO before, you're probably familiar with the importance of keyword research, right? It's crucial to identify the right keywords to rank for in your blog, but the process of analyzing metrics and comparing keywords can get a bit tedious and repetitive. And if you guessed it right, that's why I made the video for today, because I built a system to automate the keyword research based on a general topic of your choice. With this build, you will also get the chance to set up an OpenAI Assistants API, as well as using their code interpreter, which I find fascinating, all right? And additionally, we'll get to use data stores on Make so that you understand how to use them, since I didn't see that many people talk about them in YouTube, and I personally find them really useful if you want to handle simple logic inside Make and not have to send information to an external service such as Airtable. The idea is to integrate this within a blog automation system that I have already made a video on and I'm currently improving on as well, in order to 100% automate the blog creation process so that you don't even have to lift a single finger. If you want to have a look at that video for more context, feel free to click one of the top corners where I will leave a link for that video. Without further ado, let's get straight to it. Before we move on to the rest of the video, I briefly want to go through the tools that you will need to build this system, as well as a general overview of how this works. So first of all, you will need an OpenAI Assistants API, and this requires you to have a ChatGPT Plus account. Also, you will need a Data for SEO account in order to access the Data for SEO Labs API in order to do the keyword research, all right? And we will use Postman in order to send a JSON payload to our webhook address in order to test the automation. And finally, we will need Make. This is how the process works, right, in a nutshell. So we will choose a general topic. And then on step 2, what we do is that we assign a dynamic counter, okay? This is literally just a number that goes in a loop, okay? So if we have 5 general topics, we're going to have the numbers 1 to 5, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're forcing it back to 1 in a loop, okay? And so on and so on. And then on step 3, we will be assigning each general topic to a category ID that Data for SEO will understand in order to retrieve the keyword data that we need for our use case, right? And then on step 4, we will package this category ID alongside other relevant information as a payload and send that as an instruction to Data for SEO so that it understands what keyword data needs to be sent back to us, all right? And that's step 5. We retrieve that keyword data, and then on step 6, we're gonna be sending that keyword data to an OpenAI assistant with the ability to run some code that I made in order to choose the best keyword to make our blog. And if any of that was confusing in any way, don't worry, because it's actually very easy and it will get more clear as you go with the video, all right? All right, let's get to the build. So the first thing you're going to do is come into Make and log into your account. And if you don't have an account, I left a link in the description that you can use to register and make a new account, okay? And once you've done that, you should be greeted with a dashboard that looks like this, okay? Go to the scenario section, and then you're going to create a new scenario, all right? And once you're here, you should be greeted with this, all right? Now what you're going to do is go to the 3 dots here where it says more. You're going to click that and you're going to import a blueprint, okay? And once you're here, what you're going to do is upload a JSON file. In this case, it's going to be the automation that I've built. I'll leave that in the description. There will be a link for you to download that. And once you've chosen the file and hit save, you should see this, all right? This is the entire automation, all right? And some of the variables are not set up, okay? You might see them with an empty border around them, and that means that you haven't assigned them properly. And that's what we're going to do in this video. We're going to go through each module and set everything correctly so that it works from your side. All right, so first of all, what we're going to do is set up this webhook module, okay? So we are going to be using this webhook with Postman. All right, Postman is a software that developers use in order to build and test their APIs. All right, and once you logged in, you should go to send an API request, okay? We will be using this along the automation in order to test it, all right? So you're gonna go back, you're going to create a webhook, okay? Add it, put a name that makes sense. And then once you've done that, it should appear something like this, okay? There should be this little red button here. And it's currently listening for any incoming data, okay? So what you're gonna do is copy this address, right? You can do this right here. So copy that, and then you're gonna come back to Postman, right? You're gonna paste that address there, and we're gonna be sending a test payload to the webhook address, okay? Make sure to put this on post because we're sending instead of receiving, right? Hit send. And then you should see that this changes states and it says successfully determined, all right? Perfect. So that works. And we can move on to the next module. So with the second module, we're going to extract a record, okay? We're going to extract that number, and then we're going to use it to perform certain logic, all right? But in order to get a record out of a data store, we have to have a data store, right? So let's go ahead and let's create a data store, all right? Let's call it number store if you want. And then we're going to choose a data structure, all right? So what is this data structure? Well, on a data store, you have the actual information, the actual data, and then we have on the left, we have a key, all right? I'll explain the key in a bit, but we're talking about the thing in the right, okay? And that's the value we're storing. So the value we're storing has a certain structure. You can add a certain structure to it, okay? So let's call this value structure, okay? And then we are going to add a specification, right? This is the structure that we want the value to be stored as. So in this case, we're going to call it current index, all right? You're going to select this type to a number because it's that number that we're going to loop around with. And you can leave the rest as it is, right? You can hit save, should appear like that. And that's it. Now you can click save here, right? And now if we go back here and let's refresh that, you will see that by setting up this data store, you've created it here, right? So if you go down here to data stores, you should see that we've created this new data store called number store, right? This is where we'll store our dynamic counter. Let's click browse. And you're going to see that it's empty. Well, we need to extract a number out of it, right? So let's create a record. You can hit add here. And let's put in an index. Let's put the number 1. And now we are going to select a key. This key is going to be used on the scenario in order to retrieve this record. So let's call it topic value, all right? And now we're going to retrieve this number by calling the key associated to this record. So we're going to get a record with the key topic value. So this should retrieve the number 1. Perfect. That's the second module already set up. In order to continue, we have to test these two modules in isolation because some of the other modules require you to refer to the output of this module right here, okay? Such as this one and this one, all right? So let's come back here and unlink it, all right? And then we're going to hit run once. Let's focus on this. Let's go back to Postman and test this out. And then once this scenario has run, you're going to check here that there should be an index, okay? In this case, yours should be 1, all right? Perfect. Now we should be able to come back and connect this back together. And if you open this and you select anywhere, you should be able to see that the variable has been mentioned in this little UI box. Now you're able to select it onto this text box right here, okay? All right, so now let's have a look at this module. What's going on here? Well, we are assigning a new variable called topic. And what we're doing is switching that number onto a general topic. So in this case, if we have a 1 here, that will be translated in this variable as crypto. All right, so this variable will be crypto. If this counter ends up being 2, then this variable will be business. And if this counter equals to 3, this variable will equal to money transfer. So that's this module. And now, because you run this already, you should be able to mention that, okay? You should be able to mention that. So go ahead and you know, if you don't have this variable here properly, what you can do is, you know, always delete that and then, you know, choose it from here, from this UI box, right? So it should look something like this. And feel free, if you want to add more numbers and obviously more general topics, you can make it go up to 10 if you want, depending on how many topics you want to talk about in your vlog, okay? Great. All right, so now let's have a look at this module. What are we doing here? Well, we're assigning a new variable called new index, okay? And what are we storing? Well, we're storing the number 1 here, right? Which is being referred in this module here, data store, okay? So we are referring that variable here, and we're forcing it back to 1, right? We're forcing the loop in the case that it reaches the maximum number of topics, or we're basically adding 1 if it's not 3, right? And we're storing it in this variable. Okay, and now we are then getting that new variable, right? The updated variable, and we're storing it in the same place that we had the number on the data store, right? We're basically updating it with a new number. Great. And in order to refer this variable from this previous module, we have to run the whole automation, right? Up to this point. So let's unlink this and let's have a run. Okay. Let's go back to Postman, hit send, and then perfect. Let's connect the data store back again here. And now we should be able to refer back to it. So now you should be able to set this up, right? We're basically just updating a new number onto this record here. Perfect. All right, now we're at the stage where we can test the full dynamic counter logic, okay? So what we're going to be looking for is for a change in the number new index, okay? We have to make sure that it's looping. Okay, so let's cut it here and we're gonna test this again, okay? So currently, this is the number 3 and we should see it go back to 1. If that's the case, then this works. All right, so let's go ahead and test that. Let's hit run once. And now we're going to go back to Postman, send this test request. And now we should see that this number should be equal to 1, right? Perfect. All right, so now let's go back and connect the rest of the automation. All right, let's move on. Let's continue. Let's have a look at this module here after the data store, right? And what is going on here? Oh, first of all, if you see here that it has a different name to all these, it's because you're able to rename modules, okay? I don't know if I mentioned it before, but in order to make a bit life easier for you and to be able to find the modules that you were looking for, you can always rename them to make your life a bit easier. But anyways, we're gonna go back here and what does this variable do? So we are creating this new variable with which we are going to get the topic, all right, the topic from the first tool module, okay, with which we are naming it crypto, business, and money transfer. Okay, we're getting that here. And now we are going to switch it onto a category ID that Data for SEO will understand once we send the JSON payload, okay, onto Data for SEO's API. Where do we find these codes? Well, lucky day for you, I've compiled all these category codes inside a single document so that you can just go, select the category codes that you need, and then refer them back straight away onto Make, okay? I'll leave this in the description below so you can download it and use it. All right, and once you have the category codes, you can place them here, right? And this variable is going to equal this category code here if the variable topic is equal to crypto, okay? Likewise, if the topic variable is equal to business, then this variable is going to equal this category code here, okay? Because this is what Data for SEO understands when we're sending the JSON payload, okay? That HTTP request. So now we will see this on this next module right here. All right, so now let's have a look at this HTTP request, okay? This HTTP module. And let's see how we are sending the set of instructions to Data for SEO in order to bring us the relevant keyword data back. So first of all, we need to get the right URL for the right service. Okay, in this case, we are looking for the keywords for category service. All right, we're sending a post request. and we need some authorization to do it, right? You need to be a user for on Data for SEO and obviously have credits in order to use the service. If you make a Data for SEO account, you should be greeted with $1 anyways, and that dollar is going to last for a long time, trust me. But yeah, in order to fill this up, well, you put this as it is, authorization, okay? Don't forget the A at the start, which is high cap. And then you're gonna put basic, space, and then this weird string here, okay? How do you get this string here? Well, you're gonna go to Data for SEO, okay? Go and log in, create a free account. I'll leave a link in the description. And once you have access to your account, you will go to API access, go onto API credentials and get your email and your API password. And once you do that, you can either go to a tool called Base64 Encoder, and you're going to encode that, okay? You're going to encode your login with your password, all right? So how does that look like? How do I need to format it to encode it correctly? So you're going to format it like this. You're gonna put in your username, which is gonna be your Gmail as you saw before, and then you're gonna separate it with a colon, and then you're going to put your API password, okay? And then you're going to go to a tool like Base64 Encoder, okay? And you're going to paste that right there, all right? So paste that right there, and then you're gonna hit encode, and then you should get your string, all right? Your encoded string. And that's what you are going to paste in right here after the basic and the space. Otherwise, if you don't wanna do it like this, you can do it another way, which is by going to, let's see, where was it? To the playground. You go to keyword data, right? The keyword data API playground, which is the service we're requesting anyways. And what you can do is you can play around with this, all right? And then you can go down after you, well, actually, no, you don't need to put your password or anything because it already has your username and password. And what you can do is go to code example. And if you see right here, right, it's already formatted the request, right, the authorization body as your encoded API username and password. So you can literally just grab this straight away, all right? Make sure to not get the punctuation mark, I think that is. I don't know how it's called, but yeah, get everything behind that and after the basic and the space, okay? That's the other way of doing it. So nevertheless, you're gonna come back here, paste it right there, all right? Perfect. And then once you have completed this, we're gonna go down and we're going to send the actual payload, all right? The actual set of instructions we need to send to Data for SEO in order to retrieve the relevant keyword data back, all right? So body type is gonna be raw. Place this content type as JSON, application JSON, all right? And this is gonna be the request content, the request body, all right? So first of all, we have the category code, right? This is a changing category code, right? As I mentioned before. And this is gonna have the codes, as I said before, right? All these different numbers that relate to a specific category that Data for SEO understands. And so we have that. Then you can place the location code and the language code as needed. In a previous video that I made on a blog automation, I make these as dynamic. So you can actually configure them from a Google Sheet. But for simplicity cases, I'm going to leave these as static instead of adding a dynamic variable, okay? But yeah, set them as you wish, right? Obviously send the location code and the language code from where you want to get the keyword data from. You're gonna set this to true, leave this as it is. And then here is where you can change the limit, right? This is the amount of keywords and the relevant keyword data that you're going to retrieve back from the service. Right, in this case, I'm going to retrieve 20 different keywords with their associated data. All right, and then I added something here that I think is optional, with which you can retrieve the keyword data in some sort of order, okay? Right here, I've told the service to order me the data that I'm retrieving. Please order it to me in the sending order given the search volume. Perfect. Then you're gonna parse response, place yes, and then you can click OK, okay? But before that, if you're curious about how to structure this, or if you wanna add any other elements into your request, what you can do is that you can go back to Data for SEO, as I said, right? You can hop on this playground and then, set it up from here, right? And once you do, right, this is what I was saying about the sorting, right? You can sort your results in whatever order you want. But then once you have everything set up, you can go to the code example and then see how the structure or the request body is made, right? How is it formatted, right? So yeah, if you have any doubts, just head here to the playground and test it out and play around with it, okay? All right, and once you've set up your HTTP request, all right, now you may close that. Don't forget to save. And then we are going to go on to the next module, which is a testing module, okay? We are putting this just to make sure that we are receiving a response back from the HTTP request that we're sending, okay? So if you see, what we're putting here is going to be the response from this module right here, all right? And in order to mention it, of course, we have to run this, all right? So what we're going to do is feel free to cut it here. Feel free to cut it here since we have everything else set up. Now we can run this. And by the way, I think I didn't mention about, since we're mentioning this here, all right, already, and you didn't run it up to here, well, feel free to also cut this. And you can run this first and then get up to here, get a log for this, and then obviously come back here and refer to it here, all right? But once you've done all of that, then you're going to unlink that, okay? And you're going to run this. So let's click run once, and then we're going to go back to Postman, send that request, that test request, and then you should be receiving some form of log. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, because all we want to do is connect that and be able to refer to it here. So you're going to grab this element right here, this variable. So you're going to click that and you're going to refer it here in the body, okay? Well, why do we want that? Well, we are basically what we're doing with that, we're sending webhook response, we're sending a message back onto Postman. So what's going to happen if we run it up to here? Well, let's cut it, all right? And if you run that, and then we go back to Postman, you see here that we have a little section where we will be receiving responses from an API or a webhook, okay? In this case, we will be receiving a webhook response, and on the webhook response, we're going to add the data that we will be receiving from Data for SEO. So if we run this, and then we send the test webhook, you should see that we are getting some data back. So what's going on here, right? This is all the data that we are asking for. But right now, everything looks a bit messy. But if you have a look, you're going to see that, let's see, we're calling this Data for SEO Lab service, and we can see stuff as the keyword, right? So we're receiving a bunch of keywords. Search for the other keyword. There's a lot of information here. But yeah, we're receiving a couple of keywords with their associated information, right? So competition, search volume, and so on and so on. And we're doing this for 20 keywords, right? So these 20 keywords form part of the same category code. Perfect. So now we saw what this webhook response does. And yeah, we're only placing this here for testing purposes. We just want to make sure that we're receiving data from Data for SEO in a format that makes sense, right? And this is the information that we were looking for. So this is great. If you receive this through Postman, then that means that you're receiving the right information from Data for SEO. Perfect. All right, so far you should have this part of the automation, okay, which is in charge of, first of all, choosing a different category, right, for every automation run, and also get that category, transform it into a category code, and then put that alongside other information onto a request to get the relevant keyword data. And now this step is responsible for cleaning that keyword data, right? Filtering out all the unnecessary data that we need, leaving only the relevant stuff, and then feeding that onto an assistant so that it then retrieves the keyword we need to add to our vlog. All right, so if you managed to run everything successfully, now let's join this, okay? And I'm going to explain this part right here. So if you parsed your response from the HTTP module, right? If you parsed the data that you have received back from Data for SEO, you should receive this data in the following format, okay? So let me show you. Let's go down here, items. And this array here, okay, the items array has 20 different collections, right? Because we asked the Data for SEO service to retrieve us 20 different keywords. So each collection contains the keyword and its associated data. So we have stuff like cost per click, if you're interested about advertising, search volume, which we're gonna grab. And we also have SERP info, which if you remember, we set to true on the HTTP request because we want to get the keyword difficulty as well, okay? So we want to get very specific information from this entire array, right? We just need very specific information from this items array. So, and that's why we have this section here. So we're going to get the 20 different collections, okay? We're gonna get this array, right? We're mentioning it here, items, the items array. And this array contains the collections, and basically what we're going to do is go through each collection in a loop, okay? So we're going to extract the information that we need, right? Which you see here, the keyword, their search volume, and the keyword difficulty, right? And we put it in a specific format so that we then can feed it to OpenAI properly. But that's what we're doing. We're passing each collection and we are aggregating it into one entire object, right? Instead of 20 different collections, we have everything within one, right? And what this is going to do is going to make life easier because we can send this afterwards onto OpenAI as a single variable, right? And not 20 different variables. And these variables can change, right? It could be 20 keywords at one point, it could be 50 keywords. So we have to make sure we package that in one single variable. I'll explain this later on if it's not clear now. But yeah, so the main components are these two. We're getting the iterator, we're passing through the different collections, right? The different keywords and its associated data, and we are aggregating it into a single object, right? But then you check here and we are aggregating only the relevant things that we want from the collections, right? In this case, it's the keyword, the search volume, and all that. And obviously, in order to refer to these, you have to run the automation. So why don't we do that? Let's cut it here, right? And let's just get something going on here, okay? All right, so let's play this. 1 second. Let's get this sorted, and we're gonna hit run once. It doesn't matter. It says the transformer shouldn't be the last module. It's fine. Let's run it anyways. And let's come back here, hit send. And now you should see here that we have different bundles, right? We don't have it all set yet, all right? But as you can see here, now we got onto the item level, right? Remember before that we had to go all the way down, right, onto these different arrays, keep going down. But now what we have here, these collections are in the item level. So you don't have to do this every single time. You can just select the relevant information straight away. And that's what we're doing here in the text aggregator. We're not referring to this module here, we're referring to this module here, the iterator. And also in the middle, I've added this data store, okay? The reason I've added this data store is for you guys to have a play at how data stores work and how we can add records from API requests and information that you can get from online sources, from APIs. All right, so let's go ahead and set this module up, okay? In order to add a record, you have to have a data store, all right? So we're gonna go ahead and create one, all right? Put whatever name you think is relevant to this. Well, you can put keyword data results if you want. and then we're going to create a data structure, okay? In this case, I'm going to show you how mine looks, and then you can go ahead and copy it. All right, so we have on that row, right? On that row you saw previously on the other data store, we have a name, and now we have a name and a field, all right? And then an ID on the left, okay? This ID or this key is going to be randomly generated, okay? You don't need to do much to it. But yeah, anyways, name this as keyword, put that as text. You can put required, multi-line no, and then we're going to go into the important things, okay? This is an object that's going to store all the information that we want from the iterator. So go ahead and call this array, and then you're going to make this a collection. And now you're going to put in all the different data that you want to collect from the iterator, right? In this case, we're going to have the keyword, then text, this is required, search volume, a number, required, difficulty number, required, CPC. I mean, this was for another task, but you can leave it there if you want. You can collect the CPC, cost per click, number, yes, monthly searches date, type text, required, yes. And I don't know why this says multi-line, so leave it at no. And that's it, you can leave the rest the same. That's it, hit save. Hit save, right? I'm not gonna do it because I have another data store already, but yeah, you can leave that to 1 megabyte. And yeah, leave that as it is, and then you can hit save. Perfect. All right, and so once you created the data structure for it, you should see right below, right, in the same module, you should see that you have the following fields, right? Keyword, search volume, keyword difficulty, CPC, and monthly searches date, right? These are the fields that we're going to add on the data store. But since it's an iterator, it's going to go one by one. So with the first keyword, we're going to get the valid information. Then the second keyword collection is going to come by, and we're going to once again collect these. And it's going to keep going in a loop until we collect all of these. So if you have a look at here at the data store, keyword results, this is what we're going to collect. So CPC keyword, search volume, and so on, which is literally what we have here. Keyword difficulty, CPC, and so on. Right? Perfect. So now you can click OK, and now you can save that. Great. All right, now we're going to set this up. Okay, this module here, this aggregator, which will complete the loop. Technically, you don't need to have the data store, but I'm just adding it because I want you guys to understand how to store data, as I said before. Okay, so you can leave it there or remove it, whatever you find the most useful. And yeah, let's set this up. So it's not that difficult. You're going to choose the source module as the iterator, and now you are going to put information in this format. Okay. So from this module, we're going to extract the following information for all the 20 keywords. And yeah, put it like this, add a new line to separate between the different collections, different keyword information. That's why we're adding the new line to separate between the collections. And you can click OK, right? Once you click OK, make sure you hit save. Make sure you hit save every now and then, because you might lose a lot of the progress so far, and you don't want that, right? And now we are at a stage where we can test this up to here. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's unlink this, leave it like that, and we are going to test this. So let's go ahead, hit run once, run anyway, wait for new data. Let's go to Postman, let's send that. And now you're going to see that this has run 20 times. This is good because we have 20 different keywords, okay? And if you go back to your data store, you should see that you should have 20 different items, all right? I have 40 in this case because I've done the test a couple times, but you should see that you should have 20 different rows, all right? Great. And now let's see what you have here. So this is a great way to see it, because this is all part of the iterator. You see before on the HTTP request, once we received the data back from Data for SEO, we had a long list of stuff, a long list of data that we didn't need. And now with the iterator, we were able to extract only the stuff that we need. But now with a text aggregator, we're able to group all this up into one single object. right, into a long string of text containing the different keyword information. And this is perfect because that's what we need in order to use the OpenAI assistant. We need a long string of text with the data that we need, and then we're going to pass that onto ChatGPT. But before we do that, we need to set a variable. We're going to set a variable to associate this data right here, this text, this entire body of text. So let's go ahead and you can call it whatever you want. I put keyword search data all, okay, because it made sense to me. And now we are going to refer to that. Okay, we're going to refer to the output of this module, add it here. And once we have that, now we are ready to go on to the last step, which is messaging the assistant. All right, so let's go ahead and create an assistant, because in order to set this module up, we have to refer to that assistant first. So obviously we have to create it first. So let's go to OpenAI's platform and let's go to dashboard. Let's go to assistants right here and go ahead and create a new one, okay? I'm not gonna do it because I've done it already. Make sure you put in a name that's relevant to this use case. In this case, it's going to be a filtering assistant. We will receive, well, the assistant will receive this big long string with keyword data, and it's going to filter it, okay? So let's have a look at how these instructions look, okay? I made a document with these instructions and with the Python code, which I'll explain later. I'll leave this document for you to copy paste into the assistant if you need. I will leave this in the description so that you can download it. Great, so you're going to copy that and come here. And you are going to paste it right there. All right. Let's have a look at the instructions, okay? Let's go back here. And what I'm basically saying is that it's an expert, right? We need to emotionally incentivize it a bit. You're an expert at filtering keywords for SEO optimization. You will be given a list of keywords with their associated keyword ranking difficulty and search volume. And its job is to find the most suitable keyword for creating informative SEO optimized blogs. I'm also telling it that it has access to a .txt file that I uploaded, which contains some Python code. And I'm telling it to run it in order to get the keyword with the highest search volume and the lowest keyword difficulty. And a very special thing, or a very important thing, is that I'm telling it also that it shouldn't rank any keywords, or it shouldn't consider any keywords that mention social media platforms, okay? Because the problem with these social media platforms is that they are pumping out so much content into the search engines that they are naturally going to appear on the first rankings, okay? So we're trying to avoid these. I put YouTube, but it gets the idea. I tested it a bit and it gets the idea. So it would also disregard other social media platforms such as Instagram and so on, okay? And I remind it to only return the single best keyword, okay? Great, so now you can go ahead and, as I said, go ahead and copy that there, all right? Let's keep going down. So you can put the model as 4.0. I think it's pretty efficient to leave it as 4.0. We don't need it to search files because we're going to put the file straight in the code interpreter, all right? So enable that on. And now we are going to have a look at the Python code. So let's go back here. I left the Python code down below. And what it's doing is that it's creating an array, okay, an empty array. Then it's going to collect all the information that we're passing it through in the previous module, if you remember, in this variable, since, yeah, we are mentioning it here. I didn't get to that point yet, but we are mentioning it. And then it's going to do a little transformation of that data to neaten it a bit. And then it's going to append it, and then it's going to sort them, okay? It's going to sort all these keywords in descending order for search volume and in ascending order for keyword difference. And then I want it to return the first element. In programming, if you have a list, the first element is actually the 0th element, okay? But yeah, there you go. So how are you going to upload this? Well, it says to add this on a text file. Well, I actually put it. So what you can do is, if you're on a MacBook, go ahead and open something like the text editor, okay? TextEdit.app. You're gonna open that, you're going to paste that there, save it as a .txt file, and then you are going to upload it here, all right? And that's it. Oh, don't forget to set the temperature to 0.01 or as closer as 0 as possible, because we want the assistant to be as most repetitive as possible. Okay, and you can leave top P as it is. And that's it. Go ahead and save your assistant. And now we are going to test this assistant. All right, so let's go ahead and let's go to the assistant section under the playground section. Okay, and here is where we are going to test the incoming data from Data for SEO. Okay, so let's go ahead and use this module. Okay, let's go ahead and copy this body, okay, this long string, which is going to be added anyways onto this assistant. So it does make sense that we are pasting that in here. Okay, so let's paste that there. And yeah, if you see, there's a mention of YouTube. Okay, so let's see what it does. All right. So first of all, it knows that it needs to read the file, right, the text file. And from the text file, it extracted the Python code. Great. Now it's getting the input that we gave it, the keyword and data, and it's adding it onto the editor, which is pretty cool. Now it knows to run some more code. It's debugging, right? It's even understanding that there are errors, and it's correcting for those errors, which I find impressive. This is the power of language model agents. They're able to correct themselves. So it's trying to run the code once again. And we see that the word is PayPal. Great. And I want to show you something very interesting, okay? So let's see where it is. So have a look at this. Filter out keywords that mention social media platforms such as YouTube, right? So it created its code, it created this code by itself. I didn't include it in the main code. The main code is rather simple. So it added this by itself, right? Let's do now another test, all right? We're gonna revisit this. All right, so let's run this code again, but let's force the assistant to run through the entire logic again. So let's paste in the data, and now we're going to add something else that is not only YouTube as a social media platform, okay? We're going to add Instagram. Let's add it right here. And let's add Snapchat as well. Why not? So let's change this and place Snapchat right there. And we didn't tell it directly that Snapchat or Instagram are other social media platforms, okay? But since it's an assistant, it should figure out by itself. So let's hit run. Let's force it through the logic from scratch. And we should be able to see that it's smart enough to filter out any other social media platforms, okay? So you see here, it recognized that Instagram and Snapchat are also social media platforms, and that these don't have to be considered in the keyword data list. So it's pretty impressive, if you ask me, that it's able to run code other than the code that I gave it. And it also recognizes that it has to search for other things that I didn't explicitly mention in the instructions, which is great. And there you go. So let me know what you think about that in the comments below, and go ahead and run it a bit more, you know, test it out, play around with it. But, you know, once you're done with that, we can go back to the make.com scenario. All right, so we are literally at the last step. We created that assistant. We already named this variable, right? Now all we have to do is fill in this module. So if you save the assistant properly, you should be able to refer to it here. Okay, so just select it there. put a user role, and then you are going to paste, or you're going to add the variable from this tool, okay? Well, you can run this again, all right? So unlink this if you want, and run the scenario until here, and then you should be able to mention it, as I've done before in this video, okay? But once you've done that, that's literally all you have to do, okay? So select OK, click OK, and then you're going to save the scenario, okay? Don't forget it, it's important. And now we are ready to test, okay? Let's do the final test. So let's hit run once. Let's go to Postman. Let's hit send. And if everything works as expected, you should see that the assistant module is taking some time, all right? Because it's running through that code, it's running through that logic and that reasoning that we saw before in the playground, okay? But once it's done, you should be able to retrieve you only the keyword that is the most relevant, okay? The keyword that has the lowest difficulty and the highest search volume. And there you go. And now, once you've done this, then you can connect other modules, okay? You can connect other modules or other systems, such as the rest of the automation block, okay? You can add the automation block system that I've made on another video. So you can automate the entire keyword research, and then you can put in that keyword that you found, right? That you have proven with data from API sources, such as data for SEO. You can prove that that keyword is valid to use in your blogs, okay? And then afterwards, you can create a blog using that keyword. Great. So if you reached to this point of the video and you managed to make the automation work, I congratulate you, because now you have your very own keyword research system that you could attach to a blog generation system in order to have an entire fully automated blog generation system with which you can create a blog every single day with a different keyword, right? I think that's insane. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and give me a follow. And if you didn't, let me know why in the comments below. All right, as I said before, I'll leave all the links and all the templates down below in the description. So go ahead and have a look. All right, that's it. That's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.